The Houston Texans will be without star safety CJ Gardner-Johnson for the foreseeable future due to an unfortunate leg injury. With him out, where do the Texans go now to build depth?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode is for Texan fans all around. If this is your first time listening, thank you for coming to the Locked On Texan Podcast. I want to take time to shout out all of our everydayers, making this your first listen of the day, and for coming back, listening to me, your Texans football analyst and credentialed media member, John Hickman. On today's episode, listen, man, we have to talk about it. I have to revamp the entire show to talk about the injury to star safety CJ Gardner-Johnson, who, guys, from what he brought off the field was a little bit more valuable, or just as valuable, let me say that, to what he brought on the field. So we'll look at that. Very much conflicting news on that right now. Where do the Texans go from here? You know, how do they build that depth? Do they go outside their roster? Do they stay inside and just trust guys? Still no timetable for real on Gardner-Johnson. And what are our must-sees in the first preseason game for the Houston Texans? And let's just kick it off, man. Gardner-Johnson goes down at practice. He was trying to make a tackle on a wide receiver. He goes down with a leg injury. I want you guys to hear from Coach DeMeco Ryans on CJ Gardner-Johnson going down, and how did he have to kind of get his guys and rally them back together to finish practice?
Yeah, of course. It's heartbreaking when you see a guy go down on the field like that and doesn't get up quickly. So I'm always, nervous as a head coach anytime I see anybody hit the ground. It's tough to watch. So we'll see, we'll evaluate CJ, see where he is, but no update at this time. Yeah, that's the situation, right? It's heartfelt because we're a team. We're all in this together, and you see the emotion from our team. Like, we care about each other. I've been on teams where coaches just move the ball up and you keep practicing. Well, I think that's very insensitive, so we're going to take the time there for guys to take a knee, pray for them. All right, just make sure they send their teammate off well, and just wish him well. Make sure we're saying the prayers, and because that's what it's about, right? It's about that moment for me. Make sure everybody, we care for each other, and it's not just some slogans that we throw up or just toss around. Like, we truly care about each other. So that's why you see, if something like that happens in practice, we're going to take our time to let everybody take their time. Then we have to hit reset. It's a tough message, but we have to hit reset, and then we have to get back going.
True leader of men, DeMeco Ryans, is, listen, CJ goes down at practice, was carted off the field, conflicting reports on whether it was an ACL injury or not. But per Aaron Wilson, Houston Texans beat reporter for KPRC, he tweeted out the Texans are still conducting more tests for safety CJ Gardner-Johnson to determine the full extent of the damage. One source says the ACL is not torn, but he is expected to be sidelined for an undetermined amount of time. It is a knee injury. And so from there, where do we go? Of course, this is devastating news for the Texans and CJ Gardner-Johnson, who, after this season, I was kind of looking at the money for Gardner-Johnson. Houston can kind of move on and save themselves some money. Both sides wanted him to be out there, especially considering the legal news and issues that Jimmy Ward is facing. And that news has worsened. And the unknown on Jaylen Reed, rookie safety out of Penn State, Jaylen Reed's timetable is to get back out on the field. CJ Gardner-Johnson provided security in that safety room. Guys, there were practices where I was out there. You would hear Gardner-Johnson over the music, over the competition on the field, guys chirping and talking. You would hear CJ Gardner-Johnson. He likes to be called CD. You would hear him over everybody, and that's a fact. And you look at the leadership he brought off the field. from a vocal standpoint, I think his arrival just turned the Houston Texans defense up a lot more. You're not going to get a lot of words from Derek Stingley. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. The two starting cornerbacks don't do a lot of talking, but Derek Stingley, like whenever you would read the transcript, it's maybe like one or two sentences. And we know that he's a leader, but what Gardner-Johnson brought in terms of vocally, the Super Bowl edge, understanding what it takes to win a Super Bowl, and again, this is just absolutely devastating news for that vocal leader on the defensive side of the ball. I was looking forward to seeing him be a driving force to get over in-season hardships. Cannot downplay his Super Bowl experience. His presence, I believe, will be missed. And the Houston Texans are now, which we'll talk about, they are now in an kind of an awkward situation. Do you go with some of the guys on the roster? Where do they go now? How do they handle it? But for the immediate impact, having someone who was on a roster that experienced the ups and downs on the offensive side of the ball and seeing how his quarterback and that side of the ball had to kind of redeem themselves and bring themselves back up and fight through adversity. There's no way CJ Gardner-Johnson, who witnessed that, doesn't understand the importance of, hey man, leadership matters and how you handle things matters. And these guys are going to be looking to you to kind of pull them up at times. So regardless of where you rank Jalen Hurts, and this is not a Locked On Eagles show, but regardless of where you rank Jalen Hurts, in terms of leadership, Jalen Hurts is one of the best in the NFL in terms of, getting his troops together. So that's going to hurt the Houston Texans. And having a guy that was there for the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of the game, kind of wonder, who else in that room has that experience to the point where, they were able to get to a Super Bowl and win it. And keep in mind the IR rules, because we must monitor how Houston goes about this with the uncertainty of the injury. If a player is placed on the IR list prior to the start of the season, their season is over. So we have to monitor that. And keep in mind, Houston has to do what's best for the organization and ultimately the player as well. They don't want to force him and rush him back. If they are placed on the list during the season, then they must miss a minimum of 4 games before they can return. So with the conflicting reports, is it an ACL? Is he out for the season? Is he not out for the season? They're looking for they're doing other tests, and I suspect he'll be out for a very long time. They must have a plan moving forward. And that plan has to be, how do we improve our depth? Do they go outside of the roster? Is there a player that they trust to hold it down? Who knows? But we'll have the conversation of where do the Houston Texans go now with CJ Gardner-Johnson being out for the foreseeable future. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. My favorite part about Monarch Money is me and my wife, we're trying to get to a place where we're much more stable, and Monarch has made that easier for us. We like to have our financial meetings, and what we do, we just pull up the Monarch Money app and we go over it together on the big screen. We don't got to log in different apps. There's not different passwords. Everything is the same and consistent, and Monarch Money makes that easier for us. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. And also, Texan fans, I've been seeing a lot of y'all comment. Keep commenting, because right now we are almost at full capacity for a second league. So if you want to get down with the Locked On Texans Swarm fantasy football league that will be hosted on Yahoo Fantasy. Drop your email in the comments and I will email you what you need. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. This year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. As I mentioned, me, some of the listeners and viewers, we are all going to be on Yahoo Fantasy conducting the Locked On Texans Locked On League. You should too, whether you're a first timer or a veteran making your millionth league to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness. Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 new features, big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped the Yahoo Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scored team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. Y'all need to get in on that. With the season around the corner, now is the best time to get in on your league, to get your league together, or give that new mode a try. If you're into the classic leagues, you can still play head-to-leg private league or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedon. Welcome back, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. I want to add, man, I hate reporting on injuries. I'm sure you guys hate listening and watching us talk about the injuries because it's extremely unfortunate. And I just can't downplay how important Gardner-Johnson was for this team. And so here's a couple of implications. And by the way, the player who Houston flipped for him, he goes down with an injury in Philly. So that may just very much be the end of Kenyon Green in the NFL. Speedy recovery to that young man, and hopefully he gets another shot. But based off the track record, not sure if he will. But Gardner-Johnson, man, like when you get traded to a new team, and he was very candid. He was like, he was very open and vocal about it. He felt like he should have still been in Philly. Didn't dwell on it too much, but just coming off a Super Bowl championship run and winning it, felt like he should have still been there. But came to Houston and immediately fit in. And immediately adapted the swarm. And it wasn't even adapted. Immediately brought more swarm mentality. Immediately changed the direction of that DB room. I mean, we already thought that they were going to be one of the best groups in the NFL. The Jimmy Ward news broke out, and a lot of people was like, well, we are okay because we have Gardner-Johnson, right? And because we, whatever you want to say about it, MJ Stewart, I think, who's also been having a very decent camp, like the depth was there for Houston. And so now losing him, that changes everything on the back end of that defense. That the only person we can pretty much trust and who has gotten better in terms of how he goes about the small details in this game, Caleb Bullock. We know he's going to take the ball over, and he's been doing that all camp. But he got better in terms of just tackling, technique, how to come down on an angle downhill. He's gotten better at a lot of those things. Now the question is, where do the Houston Texans go now? Who can they run to when they need safeties or depth? And as we look at the Houston Texans, depth chart for 2025, how it is currently put together, Caleb Bullock, Jaylen Reed, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Jimmy Ward, MJ Stewart, Russ Yeast. That being said, as I look at the depth chart, Jimmy Ward out. His legal situation got worse on Thursday. So he was already going to be expected to be out for an amount of games. Now, don't even know if he's going to fully be a Texan at the start of the year. Jaylen Reed went down at practice last week, hadn't returned back to practice as of yet. And now CJ Gardner-Johnson. That leaves Houston right now with the players on their roster Kalen Bullock, and MJ Stewart. That is not going to cut it for a team that needs every ounce of their defense, because the roster, well, not the roster, but the offense right now has their question marks. The conversations internally, externally was the defense is going to have to carry this team. Now, were they going to have to carry this team for the entire season? Ideally, we do not want a repeat of that, but we know that they were going to have to carry this team at least up until maybe the bye week. You also got Jalen Petrie, but Jalen Petrie is this team's nickel. Do the Houston Texans flirt with maybe moving Miles Bryant inside for the foreseeable future and having Jalen Petrie play back deep? Though we know and understand the best version of Jalen Petrie is when he's around the line of scrimmage. Is there a safety on this roster that can maybe play? Is there a cornerback on this roster that could maybe play some safety? Houston has to figure it out what they have in-house, I think, before they go searching outside. One player that I think has had an outstanding training camp to this point, I talked about him on KHOU Sports Extra. Hey, listen, rookie cornerback Jalen Smith has had a good camp to this point, but it's been all that cornerback. Now, in college at USC, he did log some safety snaps. However, in 2024, only 23 snaps. 2023 was the highest, 53. The rest of the time, he was at slot corner or corner, played some inside in the box, but even if they do flirt with moving him around, that throws off the rest of your cornerback depth chart. So for the Houston Texans, I think they have to go outside to find an answer and relief at their safety position. And as of right now, when we look around the NFL and when we look around the free agents that are available, and I'm sure the scouting department, they're going to be looking at players that are actively playing right now as well. Guys that have been going through training camp. But if I'm the Houston Texans, I am calling to find out about, hey, what Justin Simmons got going on. Made an all-pro second-team roster every year from 2021 to 23. The Denver Broncos opted against re-signing Simmons last offseason. He ended up in Atlanta on a one-year deal, played well enough to have a role in 2025, but he is a free agent. And when I'm looking at what they absolutely need, do they need a versatile guy? They got enough versatile guys. They got two guys in Jaylen Smith and Jalen Petrie, and Jalen's everywhere, that can be versatile, right? Smith, the rookie, inside, outside. Maybe you flirt with him going back a little bit at times, but they need a full-time, without a shadow of a doubt, when you look at where he's lined up, 90 to 95% of his plays and snaps, he's at safety. That's what the Houston Texans need. And I think when I talk about where do they go right now, who can they run to when they need love, it has to be Justin Simmons. It has to be. You look at a guy that's been a part of some great defenses. You look at a guy that understands what it takes in terms of communication. That's who they need. That's who they need. Because for the Houston Texans, what are the must-sees for me in preseason? A lot of that is depth. So they don't need to jeopardize what some of those guys that have been fighting for the roster, fighting for a roster spot, has been doing at training camp. Those guys have been playing with the twos, playing with the threes. That's great, making plays against that team, but they need a for sure starter. And the best option out there right now is Justin Simmons. No doubt about it. Now let's dive into what are the must-sees from the first preseason game taking place Saturday against the Minnesota Vikings at 3 o'clock. And I better see y'all on the timeline and on social media and everywhere celebrating the Houston Texans got football back. So when we come back, must-sees for first preseason game of the season. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with your friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it in the office, just being a parent, sometimes you need that extra boost. I'm sure a lot of us needed that extra boost when we got that unfortunate news, and that got us down. So sometimes you just need that extra boost to stay sharp, and energized. And that's where 5-Hour Energy Transfusion comes into play. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go to without chasing down the cart. Bev. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5energy.com. You can use my promo code Locked On Golf to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get energized. Get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavor 5-Hour Energy shots today. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Closing out today's show, what should we see? What are the must-sees in the Texans' first preseason game? I want you guys to hear from DeMeco Ryans on this, on what he is looking for on Saturday.
We'll have a handful of guys who won't see action in the game. It'll be a mix. Everybody's kind of on their own plan, but we'll have a handful of guys who won't see time at all. Then we'll have a certain group of guys who are limited. So it's just a lot of different guys in different categories there. But you'll see most of our young guys playing versus the Vikings. Yeah, on Saturday we play the Vikings. What I want to see is our guys just go out and see who can go play when the lights are on. Like, guys do it sometimes in practice and the lights come on. Sometimes you see guys show up even better in the game, and some guys don't show up as well. So I just want to see who shows up when it's game time. I've seen them practice now for several weeks, and I'm pretty sure I know what guys are capable of doing, but sometimes you always have those guys who surprise you in preseason game, and that's the exciting part about preseason, seeing those young guys, right, shine bright when they get their moment. So I'm looking for guys to go out and have fun, execute, but most importantly, like, just play for each other and finish the game the right way.
Finish the game the right way. Did DeMeco Ryans kind of confirm we are not going to see CJ Stroud in the first team? Very unfortunate, if you ask me. Now, that was asked after practice Thursday, so maybe that went into it, but DeMeco Ryans is not a coach that makes decisions on a whim, on a prayer. So, but I've wanted to see the first team offense out there, and hopefully we still get an opportunity to see the first team offense at least for 2 drives. That's all I'm asking for, so that unit can get a groove about themselves. Though Thursday practice for the offense, as reported from different media out there, was a lot better. 2 TDs from CJ Stroud on the day, 0 interceptions, for those of you that have been keeping the stat count. So what do I want to see in the first preseason game? Well, I want to see the running back depth. Don't think we're going to see Dameon Pierce, but I think we should see Nick Chubb just a little bit. I also think that what we'll see from those young guys in Woody Marks and Jawar Jordan, who has been having a very encouraging camp, will determine how Houston goes about their running back room. Houston has about $13 million in salary cap. It may be closer to $12 million. So that leaves them space and room to kind of operate and navigate through the free agents that are out there. Maybe they look to bring in a guy via trade, or when the rest of the players around the league get cut on that last week of training camp, not training camp, after preseason, the game 3, before going into the regular season. But I can't wait to see what the running backs do for the Houston Texans, specifically the young guys. I am very excited to see Woody Marks take snaps. I'm excited to see Jawar Jordan redeem himself from how bad he ran the ball in 2024, that preseason. Granted, offensive line wasn't great. Joe Mixon even struggled throughout the year as the offensive line just wasn't great. So hopefully that we can get an opportunity to see how that competition is going and filling out after we got DP back this week. What does the future look like? Because keep in mind, this is my opinion the entire time. This is the year the Houston Texans should find a way to scale back the carries for Joe Mixon. And we have to figure out if the young guys can do it. I am banking on Woody Marks. With that being said, they can't do nothing if they ain't getting blocking up front. And so whether we'll see first team or not, some of those guys are still fighting for a roster spot. So don't know if they consider Juice Scruggs first team, but we should see Juice Scruggs out there. Hey, he's been getting reps this week at right guard, and some of the better runs this week have been, okay, Juice Scruggs is out there a little bit, right? So I want to see Juice Scruggs. We have to see Blake Fisher out on the field. Nothing wrong with him. No injury has been reported, so Blake Fisher should be out there. And also, I think the rookie, Ariante Ursary, should get a drive or two under his belt. So that's going to be, I think, encouraging for us to see. But on the flip side, we have to see this depth. The depth, man. Like, okay, the injury just happened with CJ Gardner-Johnson. On top of that, keep in mind, as DeMeco Ryans just mentioned, we're not going to see a few guys. So the players that are for sure locked in, okay, we're not going to see those guys. But as we know, and this is what my partner in crime on the squad show, Stan, like to say, the roster isn't made up of the first 23 to 25 guys. It's the back end. It's the back end. So what does the back end of the team, of this roster, looks like for the Houston Texans? I think that's going to be very important going into preseason game 2 and also coming out of preseason game 1 as Houston prepares for practice when they get back to Houston next week. I am very much so looking for the depth of this team. What does it look like? And if I can give you a specific group, I want to see the depth of the wide receiver unit along with the running backs. I'm going to add those two together. On the defensive side of the ball, I want to see Jalen Smith out there playing football. Between Jalen Smith and Miles Bryant. And Miles Bryant has been killing it at practice. I feel like Miles Bryant is at a place where he's comfortable. This is his second year going into DeMeco's defense. And you look at the year jump Jalen Petrie had year 1 to year 2 under DeMeco's defense, how much he got better. Miles Bryant in the same position. So I want to see him go out there and play some football for the Houston Texans. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. You want to get down with the Locked On Yahoo Fantasy Football League, drop your emails in the comments. I'll send out whatever you need to get signed up. If you can't be there in person, no worries. We'll still host a virtual draft. It's all about fun. It's all about Texas, baby. Until next time, ladies and gents and Texas fans across the nation, peace. We got a game tomorrow. Y'all ain't ready.